right? So here, if we have anything that's stronger than a plus, right, then code could potentially be broken up, right? And the other one, when we decide to pass the input here, right, or we decide like what we're using to compare it against here, we're going to say, well, anything that's weaker than order member, right, anything that's weaker, maybe equal to, or the same precedence, could potentially get split, right? So when you do this and you try to figure out what should I put here, you could say, well, this input here, the thing that's going to go in this space here, is going to have a period next to it. So anything that could be split by a period, right, any code that could be split by a period, needs to be put in parentheses, right? So we say blockly.javascript.orderMember is a way of saying that anything that could be split by putting a period there, right? So we sort of look at what's next to it, right? On the other hand, over here, we just used order addition. That basically is just saying that this can be, the code that's generated from this block can be split by anything that is has stronger precedence or the same precedence as order addition. So again, it compares the two and it says, okay, I need to add parentheses. And so I'll just take this code and run it, and you could just see you get the list here, right? Now, just for experimentation and to see what would happen if I change this. So if I instead take this lists split code here, I'm going to copy this code, and I'm going to change order member here. I'm just going to say, you know what? I never need to add parentheses, right? So order none would do that, right? So then I'll just hit enter. Now if I do to JavaScript again, you'll notice that the parentheses are no longer there. So if I run this, if I take this code and I run it, you see that we do not get what we want to here, right? We're mainly actually going to get the, you might not notice exactly what's happening here, but over here, let's just go back. This was a list with 6 elements. This is a string. So what's actually happening here is this Blockly is fun, rather than being concatenated with the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, gets the only split is called only on this string, right? So that's going to create the list of 3 elements, Blockly is fun, and then it's going to concatenate it with this string. Now, how does JavaScript concatenate a string in a list? Well, it basically just converts this to a list, converts this to a string, this list to a string, and the way it does that is it basically just puts commas in between. So in between the items, so Blockly is fun are the elements in the list, and so you have Blockly comma is comma fun, and it's just going to concatenate it with the A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I. So you wind up literally getting this string, the A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, comma Blockly is fun, right, with all parentheses. So we could see what goes wrong when you don't have parentheses there. And one of the things I also wanted to illustrate here was that when you're testing, you can just change the generators in the console and see the effects that it has on the generators. So another way, I guess, just of thinking of this sort of, like splitting of code here or something is, for those of you who know some chemistry, it's like ionic bonding, where one atom will lose one or more of its electrons to another atom. So the other atom sort of picks up its electrons. So just to draw the analogy here, this was supposed to be one unit where we concatenate A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and Blockley is fun, but instead the unit gets split up, as I said, no pun intended, where now Blockley is fun is sort of attached to this split method here. And so it takes the result of this and concatenates it with A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, that string literal. And again, actually, just to draw another analogy here, in fact, the word atomic is actually derived from atom, and atom being indivisible. Now, we know atoms are not actually indivisible, but historically, philosophically, they thought it was indivisible. But of course, now we know that atoms are not indivisible, that they are made up of a nucleus and electrons. But atomic still has that connotation of not being divisible. Okay, so let me go back and change what the generator for this purple block was originally. So I'll just hit the up arrow and just change the order none over here to what we had before, which was order member, right? And I'll hit enter. Okay, so let me actually talk about this second input now. You'll notice that the second input did use order member, or sorry, order none, right? So that was over here for delim. And that's because if you look at what it's surrounded by here, it's surrounded by parentheses, right? So whatever block, whatever code is generated by this block will automatically be surrounded by parentheses, and parentheses aren't going to tear apart anything that's inside. So we use order none to say we don't need additional parentheses. So if I just take this over here and I duplicate it and I put it over here, and I'll just move this over so you can see it. If I generate the code now, right, you'll see the A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I plus Blockley is fun. And you might say, oh, well, there are parentheses here around it. But these are the parentheses, again, that were part of the code over here, right? So it wasn't surrounded by additional parentheses here, right? And again, that's because it compares, this time, instead of comparing order addition to order member, right, it compares order addition to order none, and it says order addition, which is right here, the floor of that of 6 is less than the floor of 99, right? So we won't have additional parentheses be added. On the other hand, if we did something like, again, sort of changing things around, if we changed order none to order atomic here, right, that says that now we would need to add parentheses, because the same thing we actually had before, except instead of comparing order member to order addition, it would be comparing order atomic to order addition, and it would say, okay, the floor of 6.2, which is 6, is not less than the floor of 0, which is 0. So if you did to JavaScript again, you notice now it actually did surround the code with extra parentheses, right? So let's go back and restore what it was before, which was order none, right?